What is going on, everybody? Welcome to the Week 2 Thursday Night Football Preview. I am Christian Hardy, at ByHardy on Twitter, and I am with Adi Narang, at ReallyAdi on Twitter, and we are both from Locks DFS. That's Locks DFS on Twitter. That one's an easier one to remember. We are going to be breaking down this Thursday night game, which is going to be a pretty fun one. The total is where we at. We're at 50.5, bet down to 49.5. We got the Panthers. We got Christian McCaffrey, one of the top overall plays on the week. On the slate, one of the weekly top overall plays. But before we get to all that, I wanted to say, don't forget, you can go to locksdfs.com, get your NFL pass. We've got lock sheets. We do a written and analysis for all these showdowns. We do the Thursday night videos, but we also on Sunday night and Monday night, we'll break down those as well. You'll get access to our Slack chat and our private Sunday morning live stream. So do all that. Or you'll get all of that. Just go to locksdfs.com, locksdfs.com. Slow it down a little bit for you guys. And you can get it all there. And then also we wanted to announce the winner of the giveaway. And I'll just let Adi talk about the giveaway because he has the winner, and I'll let you tell them what to do to win next week.
Yeah, so as you guys know, we run the same giveaway every week where all you got to do is leave a like and leave a comment on the videos that we post throughout that week. And then we go through the comments at the end of the week and pick a winner. So this week's winner is going to be Glide. He left a real nice comment underneath my Adi's action video for last week. So Glide, just DM us at LocksDFS on Twitter, just to keep it all in one place. And we'll get you hooked up with the free season pass of your choice. I'm assuming you're going to pick football, but let us know, and we'll give that to you. So for next week, like I said, if y'all want to enter the giveaway, just leave a like on this video, the Adi's action video, and Christian's cash game locks video, and then leave a comment, and we'll go through, and hopefully you're the one that's picked.
Cool. Okay, let's go ahead and get into the slate. We're going to mostly focus on DraftKings. A lot of the advice we'll be able to use, we'll be talking about the game as a whole, so you'll be able to use a lot of it for FanDuel as well. Let's go ahead and start at the very top, where you're probably going to want to play Christian McCaffrey at captain, just because in general, you want to play the guy who scores the most points in your captain spot. It's by far the most optimal thing to do. Christian McCaffrey feels pretty secure in being that top scorer this week. Obviously, he's going to be one of the more expensive players you're going to ever see on a showdown slate, at least on DraftKings. So that said, you still are going to have to get him in. Obviously last week we talked about, at least I know I talked about in my video, Tampa Bay wanting to run at a pretty quick pace. That's just what Bruce Arians does, running his offense at a quick pace. Their offense didn't look great last week. Obviously, Jameis Winston really struggled. That said, even whether they're up or whether they're down, McCaffrey's going to touch the ball so much that you're just going to want to play him in your captain spot. Adi, do you have anything else to say about that?
No, I don't think he's expensive enough, man. Like if he was 14K, like in the flex, if he was 14K, which would make him what, like 20K or something like that?
21K, yeah.
21K in the captain spot. I think that would be more reasonable. 18.6, anything that's not McCaffrey in the captain spot is going to be fairly contrarian, which is pretty good. You can makes it pretty straightforward as far as if you want to make some different builds, just go with some other guys in the captain spot, and that'll instantly give you a whole different build than everyone else gets, because McCaffrey in the captain spot is going to be super, super chalky, and I'll probably be on board with it. He's just a RB1 and a wide receiver one mixed together. He got 11 targets last week, and that doesn't seem like an anomaly. He seems like more weeks than not he's going to get double-digit targets. Last week was really suited to a heavy dose of Christian McCaffrey because the Rams defense was sort of set up to allow a lot of checkdowns, which is partially why you saw a guy like Greg Olsen also get 9 targets, DJ Moore get 10 targets, but Curtis Samuel, a guy who's more dependent on the deep ball, only get 4, just because of how that Rams defense is set up. So this week, even if he doesn't hit 11 targets, I think 8 targets is a reasonable projection for Christian McCaffrey every week. And that going along with a pretty secure red zone role, as well as a pretty secure role running the ball in between the tackles, kind of locks him into an upside of 30 touches every single week. And that's hard to get away from in the captain spot. So definitely my favorite play, probably the top overall play on this entire week 2 slate, including the Sunday games. Just going through, I can't find a play I like more than him. So he'll be in my captain spot more likely than not.
The Bucs also lost pretty good run stopper Lawton David in the offseason. So
right. Yeah, it's an awesome matchup. They're a 7-point favorite. So, even if this game turns into the Panthers trying to salt the game away, McCaffrey eats. If this game turns into a shootout, McCaffrey eats. So there's
Yeah.
really not many avenues to failure here.
We'll just stick with the Panthers real quick. They are the favorite, by 7 points.
Mhm.
Obviously, you're going to be looking. I mean, every showdown, you're probably going to be looking to get at least one quarterback in your lineup. Cam is my preference at quarterback in this game. I think that running wise, he should have better. People were concerned coming into the year about the foot. He obviously injured that in preseason, and then we saw him only rush 3 times for -2 yards last week, which is definitely a little bit of a concern. But keep in mind that McCaffrey rushed for 2 touchdowns, and then I forgot his name. Their fullback, Alex Arma, he played like 10 snaps and ended up getting the 1 carry for a 1-yard touchdown as well, which McCaffrey could have scored almost 50 DK points last week. And he would have scored 50 DK points last week if he would have got that 3rd touchdown, which is pretty nuts. But in general, especially like I said, this is going to be first of all, I want the quarterback on a team that's going to win. You just feel more comfortable. He's got the softer defensive matchup. Carolina actually has a pretty solid defense, an underrated defense probably this year. Jameis looked awful last week, just in all aspects. Not making good decisions when he does make the right decision, not good throws. Doesn't look very comfortable in the pocket. I mean, it was a pretty big disaster for Jameis last week. Just feel a lot more comfortable with Cam if you are only going with one quarterback. I think you would agree, and we could talk more about Jameis when we go to Tampa Bay. But let's talk about the receivers, and let's also talk, because I did not hit on it at the beginning of the game, Greg Olsen is questionable. Last week actually was a pretty surprising week for Greg Olsen because he had 9 targets and played pretty much all of the snaps for Carolina. If we see Olsen out this week, which I don't remember the exact report. He didn't practice on Tuesday, but basically he thinks he'll be able to play, but there is definitely a chance on this short week that he's not going to be able to play. Luckily, they're at home. That helps a little bit, not to travel or anything. But definitely keep an eye on that. We're going to talk about it as if Olsen is in because, I mean, it's pretty simple. If Olsen isn't in, Ian Thomas is a pretty great play at 3.8K. We saw him get quite a few targets last year when Olsen went down. He's definitely going to be a pretty solid part of the offense, knows the offense, been around the offense if Olsen is out. Receiver-wise, you have DJ Moore, a more, just all-around route runner, I guess, can really do everything. A little bit more of a possession guy, but definitely still has, a little bit of get up. And Samuel more of a deep threat, not going to give me the targets, but he is going to get more air yards. In cash games, you're probably going to be looking at a lot more DJ Moore in cash games. And then Samuel is going to be lesser owned with a lot more upside. Agree, basically, yeah.
Yeah, I agree. I think Curtis Samuel, makes for a pretty phenomenal GPP play, and not even GPP play, just makes for a pretty great play at low ownership. Because if this was 1 week earlier, this guy was all the rave coming out of training camp, coming out of preseason, and it's only been 1 game in a matchup that didn't really suit him. In hindsight, I talked about him at Adi's Action as an interesting play because the Rams last year gave up a NFC high 14 completions over 40 yards. So I did like him for that reason. But looking at it like in hindsight now, it was a check down kind of matchup. So it didn't really suit Curtis Samuel too well.
Right.
This matchup, this is Vernon Hargreaves, and I'm forgetting their other cornerback's name. You got it? Whatever.
I literally had their depth chart pulled up. Carlton Davis, yeah. Kind of.
Yeah, Carlton. It's probably the NFC's worst cornerback duo. And last week, Jimmy Garoppolo dropped back 28 times and was only hit once by the Tampa Bay pass rush. They're incredibly weak up front. They're just they're talent deficient in the front end and back end. But with them only getting pressure and getting to hit Garoppolo once, that should leave Cam with a pretty decent pocket, decent amount of time to hit a guy like Curtis Samuel on some of these deep routes. So I'm really interested in him. I think on a 1-game slate, he's kind of the play you need that could sort of break open a slate, sort of like Philip Dorsett last week in the Steelers game. Just that kind of guy that without him, you're not going to bink and you're not going to win your cash games more likely than not. So I definitely am interested. This dude ran a 4.31, so it's a great matchup for him. It's also, not to jump. I'll get back into the Carolina pass game a little bit, but It's also a great spot for Mike Evans, man. Both these guys, like Mike Evans is he's gonna get one-on-one coverage from James Bradbury, who is Carolina's top cornerback. But just as far as recency bias goes, everyone's going to be interested in Chris Godwin, and he's an awesome play as well. But for only a $1,000 price difference to get Mike Evans, who is an all-pro, top 5 wide receiver, coming off a game where he was noticeably sick. He played 86% of the snaps, but like he was sick. The camera kept panning to him. This dude was like gasping for air every time the camera was on him, essentially. So I think if he's healthier, he makes for an awesome play. Because Godwin is probably going to come in at maybe 2 times the ownership, maybe even more of Mike Evans. And considering Mike Evans is the wide receiver 1 in this offense, I think that makes for a lot of sense. But going back to Carolina, yeah, I think Greg Olsen should play, but his exact quote was that he admitted that trying to play on a short week, quote, isn't ideal. That's from him, so he could be limited. But if not, I definitely like this spot for him. I mean, the Bucs allowed the NFL's 5th most yards per game last year to tight ends, and they're running more of the same defensive scheme as they did last year. So I think Greg Olsen makes for an awesome play. He did get 9 targets last week and would have had a more productive game if Cam was more on point. But if he's out, then Ian Thomas will probably make all my lineups. Just makes a ton of sense at that price. So I like the tight end for both of them. Depending on who's in, I'll probably play them.
It's if I'm ranking these wide receivers, just to really clear it up, for me, point per dollar would be DJ Moore, Mike Evans, and then Godwin and Samuel. Don't know where I fall on those. Probably God. No, I'd probably just take the wide receiver 2 on the better team. You know what I'm saying? Like versus the worst corners. So Godwin's probably last for me, thinking about point per dollar wise. I think you can play all of them, obviously, in GPPs. Howard is going to be a GPP play as well, I think, up here. And then Olsen. Okay, so now we get down to the cheaper guys, which is really going to be, I think, the cheaper offensive options that, other than Thomas, if Olsen is out, is going to be, I don't know if you can see that. My internet connection is unstable, but give it my screen anyway. It's going to be the Tampa Bay running backs, but it's also a very murky situation, to say the least. Bruce Arians is basically saying he wants to use the high-handed running back. This is really not going to pop up right now, it doesn't seem like. He wants to use a high-handed running back. I don't really need to click on that. If it doesn't pop up, that's fine. Most importantly, I really want to look at these snap counts for Tampa Bay running backs because, wow, nothing is going to load. Do you have the snaps for Tampa Bay running backs? There goes something.
Yeah.
There we go. Here we go. I got it.
Let me pull them up. Yeah.
All right. So Ogun Bawali last week actually led the team, played as more of a pass-catching running back. Peyton Barber and Ronald Jones are technically the 1-2 running backs on this team, and both got 20. Peyton Barber got 25. Ronald Jones got 22. It is just a messy situation, and Arians made it clear that I believe it was Arians, wants to keep it the same going forward. So, you have Ronald Jones, who looks like the better talent in this backfield, but is going to be trailing in this game. Only got 1 target last week to Peyton Barber's 4, to Ogun Bawali's 5 targets. So Ogun Bawali is half the price of the other 2. Looks like the best option in this backfield. He outsnapped these guys. He played most in pass situations. This looks like a game where they're going to be passing again. To me, he looks like the best option on this slate. If I was going off talent, I love Ronald Jones' price at $5K, but if he's not going to be getting snaps, then it's really hard to dedicate any, dedicate funds to him in cash games. To me, he touched the ball basically every time he was on the field. He played 22 snaps. I believe he had like 15 carries or something like that. Again, I'm trying to pull up these numbers, but Adi, what's your take on the Tampa Bay running backs, who look like really the only cheap options on the slate in terms of offense?
Sure. So Ronald Jones, who's by far the most talented running back out of the 3, Bruce Arians has still declared him the backup to Peyton Barber for whatever reason. I suppose bad teams just stay bad. But Ronald Jones looked phenomenal last week. I watched that whole game. He was explosive. He showed great vision. He looked amazing. So I don't think it'll be too long until he takes over as the unquestioned RB1 for them. And when that day does come, he'll be worthy of whatever price tag he has on DK. Not too interested in Peyton Barber, although I think that's pretty reflective of like how everyone feels about Peyton Barber. So for that reason, it'll make him a pretty interesting GPP play in case he finds his way into the end zone twice. But just not interested in him. Carolina's got a very good defensive line. This projects to be probably one of the most talented Carolina defenses in the past few years. So I think Ronald Jones, if you want to bet on talent, Ronald Jones makes sense. If you want to bet on a couple luck box touchdowns, Peyton Barber makes sense. And if you want to bet on Carolina, taking a pretty commanding lead over Tampa Bay, and Tampa Bay was reverting to, passing on 70-80% of their dropbacks. I think their Ogunbowale makes a lot of sense. He had 5 targets last week. 4 of those targets came on the last drive where they were just sort of in catch-up mode. 3 of his catches came on that drive.
But it is notable that he was in on that drive.
Right, that's what I was saying. So, but it is important to note that sort of game flow could be very indicative of what we see tomorrow. So, I think it's not like hard to envision Carolina jumping out to a 14, 21-point lead and Ogunbowale having 50% of the snaps, all in very fantasy-friendly positions as far as PPR site on DraftKings. I mean, if he gets 3-4 catches at that price, and what he does for your lineup, because it's expensive having McCaffrey in the captain spot. So having a guy like that definitely helps. Open up some salary. I think the kickers are also super in play.
Yeah.
As far as cheap guys go, like since there isn't that many cheap guys to take advantage of, really just Ogunbowale, and maybe trying to luck box like another Arma touchdown, 1-yard touchdown, which I would not do because Cam is probably going to get one of those.
Yeah,
Cam is probably going to get a lot of those. So that's all there really is. So I think the kickers make a lot of sense here, and I can definitely envision a scenario where I have both those guys in my lineup just to have a fairly secure floor out of my cheap guys.
For sure. Not too interested in the defenses. I think on DraftKings they're usually just not priced correctly. I'd rather play the kickers for the most part.
Mm-hmm.
So, not much to do with the defenses. And,
if you do want to play one, obviously the Panthers is the one to go with, just because Jameis Winston had 3 turnovers last week. He could have had a few more as well.
They're all home 7-point favorites.
Yeah, so there'll be a lot of opportunities for like those defensive ends just to sort of pin their ears back and try and get a takeaway. So if you want to go contrarian with the Panthers defense, I wouldn't recommend it, but I don't hate it.
For sure. Okay, well that's pretty much all we have to talk about. I will remind you guys about the giveaway. Don't forget, we just gave away a pass at the beginning of the video. So be sure to comment, like this video, comment and like on the other videos that we post this week leading up to week 2, which is going to be an awesome week. I've been looking at this slate a ton. Very excited for it. It'll be a very fun slate. I'm excited to do my video tomorrow. And yeah, just leave a comment, like on those videos. Have a chance to win. And also go to locksdfs.com. Try us out for a month. I do think that the product is a lot better than it's been in the past. I think we both had pretty good week 2s. So, go get a pass and go join us in the Slack. With all that said, all right, we will see you guys back here. I'll be back here tomorrow. Adi will be back here on Friday with Adi's action, and we'll see you guys then. So, peace.